Welcome back, Flare community. Today, we're going to talk about the Flare Finance platform and how you can use it to generate an income. So, briefly, what is Flare Finance? Well, they are the first DeFi platform built on Flare and the Songbird network. It's a collection of different protocols which will allow you to interact with the Songbird network in a decentralized manner. Now, before we jump in, it's very important to note that if you're using Flare Finance for the first time, you will need to access it by a Web3 enabled browser. Now, what does that mean? Well, for me personally, I like to interact with this application using a desktop browser. So what you can do is you can install an extension called MetaMask, and this basically allows you to connect a wallet and use it to interact with the website. And I'm going to leave the instructions here, how you can get set up on desktop. Now, some people can only access this on mobile, and that's not a problem because there are a number of different applications that you can use too, and it's all the same. So just running through an example with Bifrost, all you would have to do is log in, and if you look at the bottom here, you will see 4 squares, and that is the in-app browser. Simply click that, click on FlareX, and then it will prompt you to connect to the Songbird network. Simply click connect. Now, some of you may have an issue connecting, and that's likely because you're using the wrong network. If you look at the top here, you can see the Songbird logo for me, but sometimes people connect with Ethereum, and this will cause problems because the Flare Finance platform is obviously built on the Songbird network. So just click that and click on Songbird. Now, going forward with this tutorial, everything will be the same, no matter if you're using a mobile application or a desktop browser. So let's jump in. This is FlareX, the decentralized exchange. Now, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is this big red banner that's permanently at the top. It says, "You are using an experimental product suite on a Songbird Canary network. Please be aware of the inherent risks involved." So that's something that is always important to consider. If we look at the top left here, this is, I guess, the protocol selector. You can click on this and it will list all of the different applications that you can use. At the minute, we have FlareX, FlareFarm, and FlareLoans. In the future, we will also have FlareWrap, FlareMutual, FlareMine, and FlareDrop. So if you ever want to change between the different products, you can simply click this bit at the top here. Over to the right, you will see your wallet, and if you click that, you can see the contents, starting with obviously Songbird, and then a number of different tokens which are associated with the Flare Finance products. So that is the basic template for Flare Finance. Now let's delve a little bit deeper into each protocol, starting with FlareX, the decentralized exchange. As you can see, it's like many other trading platforms that you may be used to, but this is actually decentralized. It runs on the Songbird network itself. Now you have the traditional Japanese candlestick patterns here to represent the price changes, and you also have different time ranges that you can select in order to cater for your trading needs. Over to the right here, we have prices, and at the bottom, on the x-axis, you have time. If we look over to the right, this is where you can actually trade. This is set up for Songbird, and Songbird to be bought for Canary dollars at the bottom here. Now you can use this icon here to switch between them, and you also have a drop-down list to select each asset that you may want to trade. So it's very customizable. Now let's just say that we wanted to trade all of our Canary dollars for Songbird. Now 1.01 Canary dollars will actually get you at this particular time around 7 Songbird. Now what you can see here is a liquidity provider fee, and this is basically a fee which is given to the liquidity providers. More on that in a second. The price impact will be how much your trade will actually impact the price. Obviously, with this being such a small amount, the price is not going to be affected that much. Something else to note here is this minimum value. If you execute this particular trade, the minimum amount of Songbird that you will receive is 6.66575. This really depends on how much liquidity is in the liquidity pools. So let's jump onto that. If you look at the top here, you can see the liquidity tab. Let's give that a click. And this is where you can basically provide liquidity for different tokens. Now, this liquidity is dual-sided, meaning there's two tokens that you need to add in order to provide liquidity. In exchange for providing these tokens, you will receive what is called a liquidity pool token. Now, this liquidity pool token represents your share of the pool. If we click down here to provide liquidity, we can see that if you enter just one on the Canary dollars, you will have to provide, at the same time, around 7 Songbird tokens. This is because the liquidity pool requires equal amounts or equal values of each token. 1 Canary dollar worth of Canary dollars and 1 Canary dollar worth of Songbird tokens. Something really important to stress here is that once you enter the liquidity pool at this particular ratio, you may suffer something called impermanent loss when you withdraw your liquidity. And this is basically a result of the price fluctuations of one asset, let's say Songbird, because Canary dollars is fairly stable. If this ratio deviates, you may actually come out with less than what you put in. So that's always very important to note, and this is why I tend to stay away from these dual-sided liquidity pools. So that's the basics of FlareX, the decentralized exchange. Now I want to bring your attention to FlareLoans. After selecting FlareLoans at the top here, we can see that there is this idea of nests. Now you may be wondering, what is a nest? A nest is basically a loan, and if you want to take a loan out on the Flare Finance platform, you will have to provide collateral. So if we go up to the top here and click on Mint, you can see that you actually have to provide Songbird as collateral, and at the minute it's just Songbird and wrapped Songbird, but soon it will also include ExFi. Now it's really important to note that the higher your collateral, the safer that your loan will be, because you're providing much more collateral and it reduces the risk of being liquidated. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in a moment. So speaking of liquidations, let's go to this tab here. These are the current loans that you can see on the FlareX platform. Now, if a loan was to drop below the collateral threshold ratio, you will be able to liquidate it, and the collateral ratio is normally set at 110%. So anything less than that, you will be able to liquidate. Now, at the moment, we have a very unique situation where Flare Finance is actually in recovery mode, as seen here. Because of this reason, we're actually able to liquidate some of the loans which are above this threshold. In my opinion, taking loans out is very risky, because if the price of the underlying collateralized asset was to fall, you could run the risk of being liquidated, as seen here. So when it comes to liquidations, you may be wondering, what is the process? Where does that money come from and where does it go? Well, if we look here on the left, there is the stability pool. So let's give that a click. And basically, if you enter the stability pool with Canary dollars, and we can just do a quick example here, you actually provide stability, believe it or not. So now that I have my lonely single Canary dollar in the stability pool, this means that if a loan was to get liquidated, the Canary dollars in this stability pool will actually pay back the loan, and in return, the collateral plus any liquidation profits will actually come back to the holders of the Canary dollars in the stability pool. In addition of being able to claim liquidation profits, you will also be earning SFIN, and you can claim that here on the right. So now let's jump to FlareFarms, and I think this is my favorite protocol and definitely the most risk-free way. So again, we can actually just select it from the drop-down list over here. And here we go. This is the screen that you will eventually be greeted with. I want to talk about just one of these panels as an example. These are the pools, and it's an opportunity for you to join a pool, and in return, you can earn some SFIN. So in the top left here, we can see that this pool is for wrapped Songbird, WSGB, and the reward is SFIN. Something important to note is this value here, total staked. This is how much WSGB is actually included in this particular pool. And there is a reward rate too. And for all of these people that have joined the pool, they will get their share of 0.2739 SFIN every single day. If we look down below here, you can see the amount which you have staked. Now, if you're actually wondering how much of a percent that you own of a particular pool, you can take this value, the amount that you have staked, and divide it by the total amount staked, and this will give you a percentage. And if you want to calculate how much SFIN you will get per day, you can actually times this percentage by the reward rate. Something else that I commonly get asked is this idea of unclaimed tokens. Now, if you look over here on the right, you can see that this one says 0.0000, and that's because SFIN is a very scarce asset. There's actually only 11,000. Because of this, you will actually be earning a very minuscule amount each day. As you can see, the Flare Finance platform only displays to 4 decimal places of accuracy. Now, you can actually hover over this amount if you want a true representation of how much unclaimed tokens you have. Now below, there are actually more pools, and some of them are dual-sided pools, and as I mentioned before, for me personally, this is not an option for me because I'm trying to do this in the most risk-free manner. So let me talk a little bit about my strategy. I want you to know that I'm very risk adverse and I'm trying to do this in the safest manner possible. So what I have done here is I've started staking some of my wrapped Songbird. And as you can see, I have some unclaimed tokens. I've also taken the opportunity to stake my ExFi too. So what I periodically do is I go through this process of claiming from each pool. That's the wrapped Songbird and also the ExFi pool. Now, this is a way to really start to accumulate SFIN, and as I said, SFIN is really scarce. Only 11,000 will be in existence. It's going to have a lot of future functionality, so I think the best opportunity is to grab them as early as possible. Now, once we have SFIN, we don't just leave it, okay? What we can do is we can actually enter it into the SFIN pool. If you click on Change Staking, bring this slider all the way to the top and click on Stake. Confirm the transaction. And hey presto, we've actually just increased our share in the SFIN pool. So the idea for me is to really try and be as risk-free as possible by entering these pools, claiming them periodically and earning some SFIN, and then putting that SFIN to work in the SFIN pool, again, to create more SFIN. And it's this cycle which is basically a compounding effect. The more you stake, the more you claim, the more you can stake again. Now, it's also important to note that people will also be doing this too. So in order to maintain your percentage share of the pool, it's recommended that you top up the pools as often as possible. So that's basically the video, guys. I really hope that you're enjoying this platform. I know that I certainly am. If you have any advanced strategies that you may like to share, please do so in the comments. I would love to hear them. If you're not already subscribed, please feel free to do so. And until next time, I'm out.
Mission Control, we have liftoff.